Listeners, welcome back to the Magic Story Podcast. This is your guide to the planes, characters, stories, and now novels of Magic's Multiverse. I'm one of your co-hosts, Natalie.
And I'm your other co-host, Harless. Now, if you've been online in Magic Story Spaces for the past few months, you've likely heard about what folks are calling the greatest novel in the multiverse. Or at least we are, because Strixhaven, Omens of Chaos is here.
The novel is already out, and spoiler alert, it's phenomenal. I cannot express how amazing it is to see a novel like this get the love that it deserves. But fans of Magic Story shouldn't be surprised. After all, this novel was written by the award-winning author Seanan McGuire, who is actually joining us in the studio today. So welcome, Seanan, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really happy to have been joining y'all in the studio. You have Diet Dr. Pepper. That is all I require in this world. I am a simple creature. I'm Seanan McGuire. If you haven't heard my name pronounced before, just pretend you have a friend named Sean and you want him inside your house. And you'd say, "Let Sean in." And that is the simple guide to pronouncing my name, which no one can do, thanks, Mom. I am a professional full-time writer. I've been writing for Magic the Gathering since Innistrad Midnight Hunt, when I was approached by Grace Fong to come in and do one of the side stories, Tangled, which was the second piece of media tie-in fiction ever to be nominated for a Hugo Award. We did not win, but we made a decent showing, and I'm happy about that. And I have been playing Magic the Gathering since Alpha.
Wow. I have to say, Midnight Hunt is so special to us because before we started this podcast, we did a kind of proof of concept with Midnight Hunt. And so the first time we got to really dig in, and I mean, we printed this out.
Yeah.
We had binders, we had highlighters, we took notes. I mean, we were just like, basically in the floor together, just like, oh, we should talk about this and we should talk about this, was with Midnight Hunt.
Wonderful.
And so we're just so happy to have you here. I mean, it's honestly almost surreal because we've talked about your work so much at this point. From Innistrad to Lorwyn, of course. So getting to bring you on is just an absolute
Thank you for
thrill.
having me.
So it's no secret that you are a huge fan of Magic. I mean, not only have you written literally dozens of stories for Magic, but you've also been a very prominent voice for Magic Story on places like social media. And I'm really curious, what's it like to write for a universe that you have such a strong connection to?
So my general policy when approached to do any sort of IP work, which is licensed intellectual property, writing for something you don't own, is that I will decline unless I care. Because I think people can tell if you bring actual affection to the property. You can be as technically perfect as you want to be. You can absolutely understand what you're supposed to do, but it's not going to land with the people that you most need to embrace it unless you care about it. So Magic, I said yes when I was approached because I already truly loved Magic. And as someone that started playing in the very early days and then dropped out for a while, a lot of my memories of Magic Story were very male-centered. Female voices were not really welcome in the room. And when they were present, they were not encouraged to have a perspective that was not basically cosplaying as a man. So I was excited to be able to come back to this franchise that I had really, really loved and had deeply connected with and actually have a perspective that would have made me feel more welcome when I was here the first time. And it has been an incredibly welcoming experience. Magic fans are some of the sweetest people. They're also some of the worst people because they are people. Like, that is the nice thing. We like the multiverse itself, we contain multitudes. Right. And Magic Story fans, which are not entirely the same as Magic players, but Magic Story fans are very welcoming of new perspectives and new voices and of seeing things that make our multiverse grow bigger rather than smaller. And so being welcomed by this community and learning more of what the community as it currently stands would like to see has just been a jubilant experience. As a writer of licensed work, this isn't the only franchise I've worked on, and I am sometimes overcome, like genuinely, with the weight of you are making canon. The thing that you are doing right now, even if it gets retconned in a year, even if it is undone by the next author down the pike, it doesn't matter because you will have made canon, and every author who comes after you is going to have to deal with that. And that makes me very happy.
So you've been writing stories in Magic's Multiverse for about 5 years now, going back all the way to Innistrad, which you mentioned with Tangles. You've been working in this particular setting in Strixhaven for years now. So how has that affected your relationship with Magic, both as a setting and as a game?
So as a setting, I'm also a people. I also contain multitudes. And I don't actually like every character and every plane. I don't think it's fair to ask anyone to.
Sure.
But what I have learned the more I've written is that every character is somebody's best beloved. Every character is the one that they see themselves in, that they hold closest to their heart, that they treasure in a way that I may or may not be able to comprehend. And those characters will not always make sense to me. Like my true love in Magic the Gathering has turned out to be Tyvar. Why? No one knows why. I don't know why, but he is perfect and I love him. And so what I have brought away from writing the text and working in the multiverse is that I need to treat every character like they are the most important person in the story. If I'm going to hurt your best beloved, if I'm going to make Liliana cry, I need to earn it. I need you to look at the story and not be mad at me, but be mad at the Eldrazi that messed with Liliana or whatever.
Yeah.
And that has been a great perspective shift for me. Because before I was doing this more, I really would just look and be like, oh, I don't like that character. I think they kind of suck.
Yeah, just not my favorite, not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
and then move on, right? Like,
Yeah. But now I have to approach everyone with affection. And it has made me actually like and care about some characters that I didn't before.
Yeah.
And that has been a really good and I think healthy shift in the way that I approach it. Because I know people get mad when they feel like the spotlight has been stolen from their babies.
Yeah.
And people get resentful sometimes. And again, I am people. When I say this, I am not implying that you have negative feelings that I don't. But it's better if we can avoid that more.
Yeah.
And it gives you a healthier relationship. As to the game, I would love it if I had the kind of power over narrative that some of these people think I do, because Tyvar would be in every single set forever. It would be so good. He would never get another nap. It would be wonderful for me, terrible for him, but
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And we talk a lot on the podcast about, the absolute just, unit of people that come together to make these stories happen. And so our listeners know that, by the time it reaches you, some things have been kind of predetermined. But I also know that you get to put a lot of your own, I'll call it your own sparkle, and maybe get to go back and forth with narrative a little bit. And
oh, we argue.
yeah, but I love that. I think because you are passionate and they're passionate. And it just shows you that everyone who touches the story just absolutely, it means so much to all of us.
It really does.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone involved with story anywhere in this process that doesn't genuinely care, even down to the copy editors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a fan, I will never say no to more Tyvar. So
thank you. I mean, my boy deserves all the airtime he can get.
And I think it's no coincidence that we had one of the most prominent contemporary Magic writers come back this time for a full-length Magic novel. And we announced Strixhaven Omens of Chaos back in October of last year, and the fan reactions were just wild. And what was your reaction to just the massive surge of support for your work and for Magic Story?
Well, in the moment, my reaction was basically panic. And Strixhaven Omens of Chaos was announced at a Magic Con that was happening at the same moment that I was the guest of honor at another convention in Tampa, Florida. So I knew the announcement was coming, and I had to notify the convention that it was coming and that I needed a 2-hour block of my schedule clear so that I could handle social media reactions. And then I was locked in my hotel room, basically typing as fast as I humanly could to try and respond to people. People are hungry for books. The Vorthos community, the Magic Story community, has been hungry for books for a long time. It was time to try the experiment again. And I have really appreciated how much of our community understood that it was time to try again. I think most of why they asked me to do this is that I was brought in for Midnight Hunt, and within like 15 minutes of getting my first story fully accepted, not just you get to write this, but we have accepted it, I'm going, what would be cool is if we did books again.
Yeah.
I would really appreciate it if we could do books again. And then Grace Fong, who was the narrative director I originally worked with, left for other opportunities. And I wound up getting handed to Roy Graham. And Roy is a joy. I love Roy. He is one of my favorite humans. I really appreciate working with him. And Roy, who is a brand new, shiny baby narrative designer, he's still got that new car smell, is suddenly handed a highly agitated author who's going, book? So I kind of feel like they gave me the book just so I wouldn't eat a narrative designer.
Well, shortly after it was announced, there was a groundswell of support for pre-ordering and supporting the novel, a lot of which was spearheaded by you. So folks were abuzz with theories about the announcement. They weren't just talking about it. There were a ton of pre-orders for the novel in the wake of the reveal, which just goes to show how excited people out there are. It's not just you that wanted the book. It's all of our listeners. It's so many people. It's all those Worthos fans that really want to support Magic Story.
A lot of people really, really did. And I think it helps that I did so much stuff for Magic Story for the web fiction before we did this, because without throwing any stones at anyone, I think that some other Magic books have suffered a bit in terms of meeting community needs because they were written by people who were not already invested in Magic. And it's harder to trust now because of that, if someone does not seem to have that engagement.
Right.
And at this point, folks are, whether they like my work or hate my work, they're pretty sure I'm sincere about my work. And so I do think that that helped quite a lot. And, people are excited, which is great.
So as we approach this launch, we revealed some exciting new details like the secret lair drop, teased some of the chapters online, and got people excited for this novel, which came together for this massive story-centric moment in the lead up to both the novel and Secrets of Strixhaven. Speaking as a person who is pretty involved in the production and fandom of Magic, seeing story dominate the conversation is very inspiring. It feels really cool. It feels like an amazing moment right now. And what did that moment feel like to you?
So getting back into Magic, one of the things that was most initially absolutely stunning to me and then baffling was just how huge the Magic community is and how invisible it is if you're not a part of it. It's like that meme of seeing a shadow pass underneath your boat. Well, this shadow is bigger than the boat.
Yeah.
And yet, when I go to general science fiction conventions, which is where we normally go to market my work and to find readers for my work, people literally still ask me, Magic the Gathering has a story?
Wow.
They don't know. It is very easy when you're inside the tide pool to forget that outside the tide pool, no one knows what an anemone is.
Right.
Yeah. And so as a story fan and as a story creator, seeing people be genuinely confronted with the existence of Magic Story, not as if it's something that they're going to revile, but just something they have never considered could exist, is wonderful. I have worried a lot in recent years because if you look at the amount of story per set that we get and then compare it going back, it has dwindled over time. And part of that is the shift from physical books to being entirely online. And part of that is that I've talked to people who were writing Magic Story in the freewheeling old days. We have at least one author who was paid for her work with a t-shirt. They didn't have world guides. They didn't have instructions. They just did it all on vibes. And we don't do that anymore. We are very tightly controlled to make sure that everything fits together and everything is accurate. And that is good. I think that is better. Yeah. But it means that a single piece of Magic Story costs more in terms of both time and money to create.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to hit that kind of size again. So forcing people to acknowledge that even in a reduced size, it's still there and it's still important.
It's so important.
It so is.
Yeah.
And there is some but there is some magical work going on in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first started playing Magic, the first thing I noticed was the art. And then I would go, well, who's this character? Where's this? What does this mean? I remember seeing like the Church of Abbasin symbol and just going down a rabbit hole of like, what is there's religion in Magic? Interesting. Like it's so deep. Yeah. It's ever present. You can't look at a card without world building having touched that card in some way. Yeah. Maybe that character's not written in the story specifically, but that character is there because of something that happened in the world guide or something that happened out of someone in world building's mind that ended up being a concept that ended up going down to an art director who put that on a card, or that art director's interpretation of something from the world
Right.
ed.
We've got Secrets of Strixhaven coming, and they've brought back the Mystical Archives,
Yes.
which is spells from across Magic's history that get reprinted, inside the set as a bonus sheet. So they're not standard legal, I'm sorry, but they are still there, and they're more accessible to new players. And we were looking at some of those this morning, and the best thing about them is every single Mystical Archive card, if you stop and really look at it and look at the details, you can figure out what plane that spell is being cast on.
Yeah.
And argue about it, which is great. We had a brief argument about one of them and finally settled on, I think that's happening on Kaldheim. But that shows the depth of the world building. It shows how much you can dig into these things. Innistrad is not Duskmourn.
No.
And Eldraine is not Lorwyn. And the fact that there are superficial similarities doesn't make them the same place.
Right.
It's kind of fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you could go talk to any of our world building people and say, these two things are similar. What's the difference? And they'll spit it out
immediately.
in a heartbeat. Incredible.
So now that folks have hopefully begun to start to read the book, it's just very clear how much love you have poured into Strixhaven. And a full-length novel like this is pretty different than our typical 5 to 7 episode main stories that come out on our web fiction. And that gives you the chance to really push boundaries and explore ideas you otherwise maybe couldn't or were constrained to do. And so I'm curious, what were some of the elements of the setting that you were excited to explore as part of the novel?
So you mentioned the 5 to 7 episode main stories. Those are 5,000 words each.
Yeah.
So if you get lucky and you get Murders at Karlov Manor, which was 10 episodes, that is 50,000 words. That is not even a short novel. Omens of Chaos is 127,000 words long. It's more than twice the length of the longest set story we've had in a long time. And it meant that while I still had to trim down my tendency toward excessive verbiage at times, I was allowed to actually go down blind alleys if I wanted to. And I was allowed to follow rabbits down their holes. And that's wonderful. There is a scene, without going into too much detail, but there's a scene where the students are having tea. And they get to talk about what tea is like on their different planes. How do we serve tea on Capenna? What is the difference in these treatments? What do we risk losing if the Omen Path springs Starbucks across the multiverse?
Right.
All of those little details that actually make the worlds feel like worlds and not backdrops. Our students are all transplaners, so they're all coming from different planes. Eula, who is really our primary protagonist, she has most of the narration, is from Capenna. And we've also got Sagante, who is from Fiora. And our joke, and you may have to cut this because I think it's light swearing, but our joke was that he was culturally asshole because that is the culture of Fiora. But Capenna and Fiora are both Italian-inspired planes. One of them is 1920s Chicago. The other is Medici-era Italy. And so having these two Italian planes and being able to stand them next to each other and really say, oh no, these are not the same place. Look at how many cultural misunderstandings you can have, even just with these supposedly aligned planes, was great. Eula, because she is coming from Capenna and is coming from a kind of higher social position on Capenna. Her family used to live just below Park Heights.
Yeah.
She is an upper class girl who has been put into a lower class situation. In order to write her properly, I needed to fully understand the etiquette that Capenna would be working with. So I located 5 separate 1920s etiquette guides for Chicago, New York, London, San Francisco, and I believe Toronto. Read them all and then wrote my own guide to the etiquette of New Capenna.
I love
synthesizing it to be less sexist. It's not necessarily about gender so much as it is about social position, and to include magical elements. Because, when is it appropriate to give champagne to a child, that sort of thing.
Right.
Or when is it appropriate to give Halo to your teen? All of these things. And I wrote the etiquette guide because otherwise I couldn't reference it. Now, it's not canon. It hasn't been published.
Right.
If Wizards decides tomorrow that they want it as a supplemental book, I can hand it over. But I don't think anybody other than me actually wants 70,000 words of New Capenna etiquette. And that sort of thing was a genuine joy. I did get some of my little personal commentaries in there. Like someone was asking Eula at one point, so your home plane, are you from New Capenna or Capenna? And she's like, I'm from New Capenna on Capenna. Why would they name the whole plane after the city? That would be like calling Arcavios Strixhaven all the time. Because we do that and we need to stop.
Yes, that is true. So I love that you mentioned the tea because I have to say, I've said this on the podcast before.
Yes.
You know exactly what I'm going to say. They're in MKM. Kaya is on Ravnica. She's back on Ravnica and she smells the lavender lattes. And that is this moment where we get to understand what Ravnica smells like. And we don't know otherwise, right? Like, I feel like the sounds and the tastes and the smells, you can't really put that on a magic card, right? I don't think we've done scratch and sniff magic cards yet.
Please don't give them any ideas.
But it like stuck out to me clearly so much because now when I think of Ravnica, I smell lavender.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. I'm so happy and thrilled that you were able to put some of those pieces into here as well, because for those of us who, are maybe a little bit obsessed with Magic Story, it really just adds so much more dimension and development to that place that we love so deeply.
Again, no chill. When I was doing Midnight Hunt, because Tangles is Ren switching from 6 to 7, it's her finding a new tree. I actually researched what trees she would be able to find in the part of Transylvania, which is no longer a place, but was a place in the part of that historical region that corresponded to Innistrad. So I found the types of tree that would be available and identified the one that was most likely to work. And that's why you have direct references to Innistradi oak and all of that, rather than just being there as a tree.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that matters.
Makes it feel very real.
It does.
Like you can reach out and touch it.
Yeah.
So as the author, when someone picks up Strixhaven, Omens of Chaos, and enters and could be entering the multiverse, for the very first time, what do you want them to walk away with, right? Like, what is it that you want them to feel the moment they put the book down and carry forward? Like, what do you want from those sorts of readers?
I want them to want to know more. We wrote the book with basically the opinion of, I say we as if there was a collaboration, but no, I wrote the book and then my editors informed the book with the assumption that if you already cared about Magic Story, if you were a genuine Vorthos, you would be picking up the book no matter what I did. I could not stop you. If you already cared, you were already invested, you would show up. So we wanted to be able to appeal to those people and not leave them feeling like they had been left behind, but also to welcome new people and not go, oh, here is 30 years of history. If you can't regurgitate the whole thing, you're a fake geek girl, get out.
Yes.
So I want them to finish the book and walk away wanting to know more.
And there's luckily a lot to dive into with Magic Story. There's
so much.
There's something for you.
It's never been more exciting to be a fan of Magic Story. We have a full-length novel out on shelves, the epic conclusion to the current narrative arc coming in Reality Fracture, and even more projects in the pipeline that we want to talk about so bad, but cannot because we want to keep our jobs. But we will promise that they're going to be amazing, so stay tuned.
So we are winding down our time today, unfortunately, but thank you so much, Seanan. Just thank you for your work on Strixhaven, Omens of Chaos. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait for readers to dive into it and sink their teeth into it. It's going to be phenomenal. So before we head out into the multiverse that you've helped open for us, are there any folks that you want to thank and any last minute shout outs that we didn't get a chance to talk about here today? Now's your chance.
So obviously I have an enormous debt of gratitude to both Grace Fong and Roy Graham. Grace, because she had encountered some of my short fiction and was like, well, I'm supposed to be finding new authors for Magic Story right now. Why don't I cold email this Seanan lady's agent and see if she wants to write Magic the Gathering? So I just got this very perplexed email from my agent going, do you want to write Magic the Gathering? And I'm like, I'm going to say some words I'm not allowed to say on this podcast. Yes, I want to write Magic the Gathering. So enormous gratitude to Grace. We are still in touch. I just did a book event with her, I think last month, and I miss working with her immensely. But the nice thing about her no longer being at Wizards of the Coast is she is no longer in effectively a managerial position over me, and we are able to be actual friends, which has been really great for both of us. Huge gratitude to Roy for both putting up with my continuous requests for a book and for when the opportunity for a book came going, I think Seanan would like to do that. I think that is, please God, don't make me tell her that we passed her over for someone else. You know, we joke occasionally that there are planes for which I would hunt other Magic story authors for sport. And I think he knew that book counts as a plane for this purpose.
Yeah.
Huge thanks to Jay and Nellie, our Magic the Gathering lore master. He is the person responsible for making sure we don't contradict each other.
Yeah.
And he is thus read in on a lot of the NDAs. Because with this, because it is a magic fiction project, even though I came up with the plot, the characters, all of that, it was still under very strict NDA, and I was not allowed to tell people I was writing it. But Jay is inside that NDA, thank God, because pretty much the first thing I did was go, Jay, I'm writing a book. I need you to tell me which planes across the multiverse have organized magical education.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
And got a full list from him of planes that either had a college, had a university, or had lost one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go to anyone, it's the president of the Vorthos, Jay and Nellie.
It's the person who knows all the stuff.
Yeah.
And so occasionally I'd ask a question that Jay didn't know the answer to because we had never determined it. And that was great. And because I am without chill, but I am also fairly easygoing, I kept a file throughout the writing process called Things I Have Decided, which are going to be your problem, that was broken down by plane and would include things like, on New Capenna, this is a way that children like to take their tea, and give the direct names and then send that off to Jay periodically so that he would have a list of things I was deciding that were going to be canon going forward.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was useful to him. If it wasn't, he didn't tell me to stop. So
It's also very polite, that Jay.
he is. But if you read the book, you will see that it is dedicated to Kira.
Yeah.
That is Kay Arsenault Rivera, who wrote the main story for Wilds of Eldraine. She also just finished the main story for Secrets of Strixhaven. She and I came on right around the same time. And for a while, until this book, we were very neck and neck for who had written the most modern magic story. Yep. I think 127,000 words puts me in the lead rather comprehensively. But, I still love her dearly. She lives out here in the Seattle area now. And so I actually get to see her occasionally, which is wonderful. Even if she is a Dimir player half the time and makes my heart a little bit sad. I play my share of Dimir, but only zombies. It is also dedicated to someone named Ruby, who used to work at my local game store. And I have a thing for Planeswalkers. I collect Planeswalker cards. I'm trying for one of every Planeswalker art ever released.
Wow.
The serialized Aetherspark is my white whale. And she would gather Planeswalker cards for me during pre-releases so that when I came in, there'd already be a little pile of them ready to go. And I am incredibly grateful for that. My friend Natalie, who wound up she was aware of the book in that space that we call friend DNA, where it's like, you cannot officially know anything, but you can probably figure out from the things I'm yelling about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she had to put up with months on months of like, okay, Seanan is ranting around about ecological situations on Chandelar again. Well, this is certainly happening. I can't ask why it is okay.
Sounds like you've got a good team behind you.
Yeah, I do. And I am on a Discord that Jay and Ellie helped put together for all the Magic the Gathering freelancers, where we are not all under the same NDA. So he is actually very careful about policing our conversations, but we can talk to other people who are in enough of the same space to kind of have a sense of it.
Oh, that sounds so helpful.
It's so helpful. It's really, really good. But Peter came in as another narrative designer while we were in the final stages of this. And so I got a new person to chew on. And that was great because it's just that NDA, not NDA, that NRE of having a new person that you can harass.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
We love Peter. He's been great.
Yeah. Peter is wonderful. Peter cheerfully feeds my addiction to spin downs.
Ooh.
I really love spin down dice. I use them as a writing aid. And so I want to have as many of those as I can. And I'm just like, Peter, I haven't been able to find this spin down. And then he makes the spin down happen. And it's great.
That's lovely.
You can never have enough spin downs.
It's true.
You can never have enough spin downs.
I think I own 90% of the Kaldheim Deluxe spin downs in the state of Washington.
Wow. Wow.
And if you have one of the ones that I don't own yet, you can fix that.
So find Seanan at any of the events she's going to be at this summer, and you might be able to make her day.
Yeah.
Now, listeners, if you haven't read Strixhaven Omens of Chaos yet, what are you doing? Get on that already. Let's get started. Let's go get rolling.
What Harless means, though, I think, is that you can pick up your copy of Strixhaven Omens of Chaos now wherever fiction is sold. First edition hardcover copies come with a special foil Command Tower promo card, which slots perfectly into your Tyvar commander deck.
Of course, yep. Links to order the novel are in the description. We'll see you in the near future for more from the Magic Multiverse. Big things are ahead. We are not slowing down. So keep an eye on Daily M2G and the Magic Story podcast for more details. But until then,
Have a magical day.